Hey, welcome to our trip to Preston, Idaho, where we looked at the filming locations of Napoleon Dynamite, 2004 quirky movie. This is our first stop. We stayed at this motel here. If you look on the roof there, you'll see that little round thing. That is the top of the Poppin' Pins signage from the adjacent lot there on the other side, and that's where the bowling alley is. And unfortunately, it was closed. We weren't able to get in there. We were kind of bummed about that, but apparently it looks exactly the same as it did in the movie, so we still wanted to get in there. The next thing we did is went to Deseret Industries here, right downtown Preston. This is where Napoleon bought his sweet suit, and we were able to get in there and look around, did some shopping. It looks pretty much the same. They changed some of the signage and the layout and such, but it's pretty much the same. You can tell it's the same building. And then just outside, you'll see this scene of him walking down the street. There's a couple scenes that were shot right here of him walking in the suit, and then again here walking in his Vote for Pedro shirt. So same little stretch of sidewalk here. And directly across the street from that is where King's and Deseret Industries are. King's was where Summer worked, and it had been closed and gutted out. We were able to kind of just walk up to the window and peer inside. Summer's register was right there by the front door, so you could see where the register was on the floor, and then also the main aisle that Napoleon and Rico were walking down was just straight down from the front door, so you could see exactly where it was. Now moving down the block, this is, and actually it's a funeral home that used to be the Cuttin' Corral. You'll hear Napoleon talk about that's where he got his hair cut, so that was just a little interesting side thing that we found. This place was a kind of a gift shop. They also had a bunch of Napoleon Dynamite stuff that you could buy, as well as the maps to the locations. So if you're ever in Preston and you want to do this, this is where you would go to get the map. We got a couple things while we were there. Just across the street from that is Rex Kwon-Do, and this is the building they used. The scenes were shot upstairs, and it's no longer that anymore. So we couldn't go inside, but, we saw the building where it was at. So this next scene at Big J's, a little confusing. There's actually two Big J's. There's one that's in Preston, and there's one down the road in Richland, I believe. And the Richland location is this location. Now, it's been torn down and a new one built, but it's still called Big J's, and they'd have some Napoleon stuff inside you can look at. Our next stop was the Oakdale Egg Farm. This is where Napoleon got his day job, working with the chickens. And it's just out of town, maybe 15 minutes out of town. And we were able to find the actual building there. You'll see there's some light colored panels on that building. It's the very last ones. We had to put the telephoto on to get a shot. But you can see those light panels. They're on the front by the door. So that concluded our first day there. That evening, my daughter and I went out and found a bass pond that was nearby Preston. Probably the only one you could go and catch a delicious bass, which we did, by the way. Now, next stop in the morning was the school. We went to the Preston High School. It looks pretty much the same as it does in the movie, and we just got some shots from around the front there. Obviously, things are a lot more grown over as far as the foliage and stuff, but yep, it pretty much looks the same. We were there on a weekend, so there was no one around. We were able to kind of mill about, look at the place, and, these shots that were on the front steps. Of course, we had to do the same thing while we were there. And then also, there is the bike rack that we saw. Now, this is definitely the same bike rack from the movie. It's been moved a little bit, but there's actually a lock and a little piece of chain that's still there now, and you can actually see it in the movie. If you kind of look in freeze frame, it's there, so still hanging out. And since we were at the school, I went ahead and put this shot in. When you're in Preston, if you talk to people around the town, there's a lot of them that were in the movie or had family in the movie and whatnot. We talked to a gal at one of the restaurants, and she said, "Oh, my cousins were in that movie." And we asked, which ones? And they said, they were the twins in the school. And I was like, oh, yes, of course. I knew exactly who she was talking about. So apparently a lot of the cast and the people that were related to the cast are still living there. So next stop was the track field, and It's not on the same property as the high school. It's actually about maybe a block away. And it pretty well looks the same. There might be some new fencing and whatnot around it, but yep, it pretty well looks the same. So the scenes where Napoleon was playing tetherball, now of course if you look in the background there, you know that's not a high school, that's an elementary school, and sure enough it is. Again, on a different location. So we were able to find it and go back there since school was closed, it was summertime. Now this next scene where Kip and LaFonda were having their date, we were able to find this. It's at a park in the city there, and if you look behind her head, you see that tree, and then you see some seating that's on the ground behind her. So we were able to find this. We found the tree and the seating. And now this is also the same park where they had this celebration at the end of the movie when Pedro won. So next stop is Summer's house. This one's just a little bit out of town, not too far. This is the shot of it from the freeway. You can actually see it as you're driving up. It's a highway, actually. But yeah, we were able to get up there. It wasn't a real good time of day to see, you know, with all the shadowing and stuff, but yeah, it was definitely her place. So while we were out in that general area of Summer's house, we drove by this place and I immediately recognized it. This was not on the map. And when I looked at the staining on the side, I knew exactly what I was looking at, which was this home where Rico does the sale right before he takes Napoleon to the dance. And yeah, it was absolutely, there was no question. It looks exactly the same. Next stop was Rex's house, and while we were on this block, we discovered a couple other locations. I'll show you here in a sec. The house looks pretty much the same, it's just been painted. Next to his house, you see this other one, which you see later on in the movie when Rico stops to talk to the girls that are walking down the street. Yeah, luckily we had some screenshots that we carried with us. We were able to see some of these locations, but if you look behind Rico's head right here, you'll see those field lights. Those are from a baseball field, which we found right there. And now in the foreground of those lights, you know, obviously there's two pieces of property, but during the filming, this was an empty lot. This is where Rico and Napoleon had their fight. So if you look behind Rico, you'll see there's that house there with the brown siding and that lattice stuff around the window. And also that American flag you can see up to the left. And you can see that in the new shot of the house. It's there. The lattice work is there around the windows. And then when they show Napoleon jumping over the fence, you get to see the field lights and the field that's on the other side there. So that was pure luck that we kind of found that while we were looking over in Rex's neighborhood. We just kind of stumbled on that one. And next up was Trisha's house. This one was easy to point out because of that solar panel up on the roof there. You could see that when you were standing in front of it. That one's pretty easy to find. It was on the map, pretty close to town, not right in town. So then we got Pedro's house. This one's actually just a block or two from the high school. And we noticed right away that tree that's on the left in front of the window now is huge now. So this is the new picture, and yeah, it almost covers the whole house. But yeah, that was really neat to see that place. I wanted to do a sweet jump out in front. I just got the feeling that dog didn't want me to. Of course, we saved the best for last, which is Napoleon's house, off in the distance there. Gosh, it sits out in the middle of some farmland. You just never even know what you're looking at. Here's the road the bus took towards his house there. And yeah, pretty unmistakable when you get there. It looks about the same, you know, some of those shades over the windows there have been removed, but yeah, it looks pretty much the same. Tina was over here on the right-hand side of the house, and so I got a shot of that. And when you turn around to the other side of the street, you get this shot, which is one of my favorites, when Lyle shoots the cow in front of the school kids on the bus, which is just classic. So at the end of the movie, after the credits, you get this scene of LaFonda and Kip's wedding, which is just kind of funny and awkward. We knew the general area of where it was at, and it was just kind of hard to pinpoint exactly, but we were able to line up a couple things here. Mainly this mountain in the background, if you look in that real distinctive mountaintop, we were able to see that. This is a pencil drawing my daughter did of Napoleon after we got back home. I thought it was pretty great, so I put it in here for all to see. So, hope you enjoyed it, and if you get to Preston, have a good time doing that, and remember to vote for Pedro.